Mochi Health is here to help you start your weight loss journey with caring, personalized support. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who truly listen and understand your unique needs. Eligible patients can access affordable GLP-1 medications delivered right to their door each month. No insurance? No problem. Mochi Health accepts FSA and HSA, making care accessible and affordable. And with 24/7 customer service, you'll never feel alone on your path to better health. Get started with Mochi Health today. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com with promo code AUDIO40.
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I am doing well. You know what? I was kind of assembling the roster of topics that we were going to tackle on this edition of the Weekly Scramble podcast. And I got to say, there's no show in America that can handle this topic like we can.
I believe it. What topic is it?
Very few shows are willing to go down the path that we are willing to go down. But we have got to handle the divorce of President Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Because you have been one of the biggest fans of Elon since I can remember.
I always liked him.
And there's been so many great memes where they'll put like fake tweets issued by either the president or Elon.
Sure.
And it's just a typical high school break of like, come get your scarf. I'm not mailing it to you. Things like that. It's very, very funny. But I have a theory. But before I divulge the theory of what I think happened, I want to hear from you on what has transpired between the breakup between the richest man in the world and the president of the United States.
Yeah, and the most powerful man in the world.
Very
right?
good point.
I mean, it is everyone. If you have a moment of chess playing skills in your brain, you saw that this was destined to fail. There's no way that a narcissist, like either one of them, would get together and be fine with a narcissist like the other, right? They're both a couple of egomaniacal maniacs. And it just was a matter of time. And I thought the other Republican and conservative pundits that I listened to and politicians that I listened to, they were genuflecting for both of them. Okay. When they heard like the Charlie Kirks of the world and the Ted Cruz of the world, Ted Cruz actually had a thing like, I love both of these men. I love Donald Trump and I love Elon Musk. It's like, do you? Do you really? I mean, the way he talked about it, he thought, I don't want to piss off the richest man in the world because I might want to run for Congress again, right? For Senate again. I don't want to piss off the current president who has the thinnest skin in the world, right? The thinnest skin. Although he acts like he has thick skin, he really doesn't, right? Nope. He's pissed at everything. I do anticipate that before too long, they'll be friends again.
You're playing into my theory.
Oh, go ahead. What's your theory?
Playing into my theory.
What's your theory?
So obviously, it's as Mr. Money Talk, Josh Honorable would say, this relationship has a lot of volatility to it. A lot of volatility.
It's got a lot of.
So here's what I think happened. Because again, the likes of Elon, and I'm just going to single Elon out. The likes of Elon, as you mentioned, they're playing chess, not checkers.
Sure.
Right? They're looking at things for the long haul. They're looking at the big picture, and they're looking at things strictly from a financial sense and a financial well-being. So I remember when Elon had set course to attach himself to the Republican Party, and I do recall that one of the main reasons was he and this was a quote from him, that he had lost a child to the woke mindset, the woke mind virus. Not lost as in the child died, but had lost this to the woke ideology. I remember him saying that specifically.
Yep.
So he had said, I am out to destroy the woke mind virus. And I remember us doing that story on this show. Yep. And who opposes the woke mind virus more than the current sitting president?
Donald J. Trump.
So he attached himself to that, and thus also used that as an opportunity to help, whether it was campaign contributions or whatever, helped Donald Trump immensely, by the way, get elected president back in November.
As he tweeted, without him, he may not have been elected.
And there's some truth to that.
It's very possible. A couple percentage points.
So once he took office, and then once he got inside the inner workings of the Doge community and saw how we're being ripped off to the extent that we are, and what an absolute empty waste pit of money that the United States government is, he tried really hard to slash it. And again, do I agree with everything that he did? Absolutely not. But that's the beauty of the America that we live in. You don't have to agree with, at least some of us think this way, you don't have to agree with someone on 100% of every single issue. It's, okay, you align with someone this way and that way, and you might think that they might do a good job, right? At least that's the way I view politics. I don't need to have all the boxes being checked on every aspect. Anyway, I'm kind of rearing off. So then when that happened, when he started to make the likes of AOC mad, when he started to make the likes of Schumer mad, all the people that have been surviving on the government teat, once those people started to get upset because Elon and his cronies were exposing what a gigantic waste of money and fraud and abuse and everything else that's happening with the government, they started to say, well, he's exposing our money train. He gots to go.
Yep.
And I'm sure that there is some validity to him getting threatened to a certain extent. I 100% believe that.
He's the richest man in the world. He's getting threatened all the time.
He's getting threatened all the time, which is why he has a team of bodyguards surrounding him. So here's what I think happened. So all that being said, when the Tesla stock started to take a dip because people were starting to see Elon bad. He's aligned with Orange Man, so we hate Elon. And as our dear governor, Tim Walz, so eloquently put it, that he loves, it gives him a little boost when the Tesla stock dipped. He started to see the bigger picture going, okay, I better take a back seat right now, even though his 120 or 130 days had come to, because he's only allowed to serve so many days because he is an unelected member of this administration.
Sure.
Okay. So when that happened, there's this big theatrical, I hate you. No, I hate you. No, we're never talking again. Just mail my stuff. I don't care. And they have this very public and nasty breakup. What's going to happen? And then Donald this morning, I'm going to read this story before I lay into this. Trump says Elon Musk will face very serious consequences if he funds Democratic candidates. This is from NBC News. In an interview with NBC News, the president also said that he assumes his relationship with the tech billionaire is over after the recent falling out. This took place on Saturday.
What serious consequences?
We'll find out.
You can't do anything. He can't do jack crap about that.
President Donald Trump said on Saturday that there would be serious consequences if tech mogul Elon Musk funds Democratic candidates to run against Republicans who vote in favor of the GOP's sweeping budget bill. Because remember, Elon was very mad at the bloated,
because it didn't do anything.
What was it called? The big beautiful bill. Thank you. If he does,
ugly bill is what Elon called it. So funny. It's a big ugly bill.
If he does, he'll have to pay for the consequences for that, Trump told NBC News in a phone interview, but declined to share what those consequences would be. He'll have to pay a very serious consequence if he does that, he added. The president also said that he has no desire to repair his relationship with Musk after a feud between the two men erupted into public view earlier this week. No, Trump said when asked if he had any wish to do so. Asked if he thought his relationship with Tesla and SpaceX CEO was over, Trump said, I would assume so, yeah. Trump's comments were the most extensive since he and Musk exchanged threats and attacks on X and Truth Social earlier this week. He added that he thought the Republican Party was more unified than ever after the two men fell out in front of the world. Trump said that he has no plans to speak with Musk anytime soon. I'm too busy doing other things, he added. I have no intention of speaking to him. Trump also accused Musk of being disrespectful to the office of the president. I think it's a very bad thing because he was very disrespectful. You could not disrespect the office of the president, he added. All right.
Pot calling the kettle, but...
This is all a gigantic play. This is all scripted. This is all acting. This is two guys that are, again, I am not denying that these two have a very healthy ego, right? Both individually and collectively. But I had said this on the Garage Logic podcast maybe a week ago, that these are the kind of guys that get out in the public spectrum. They have this falling out. They watch this Tesla stock, come down, and they're going to say to all of their close-knit rich buddies and say, buy up every available share right now because it's down now, but it will come back and it'll be bigger than ever. All right.
Okay.
So now what's going to happen is Elon, the stock is down. In fact, he lost however much money it was.
Sure.
Because Josh had the report during one of his sessions
Down
with
11% in the last 5 days. Yeah.
So what's going to happen though is now Elon's like, see guys, I'm done with him. I'm absolutely done with him. And what's going to happen to that stock?
It's going to start climbing back up like it did today, 4.55%.
And it's going to climb right back up. And what's going to happen is he and maybe even Don or the close associates to the two are going to be laughing all their way to the bank.
I can kind of see where you're going with that. I can kind of see where you're going. I think that's interesting.
It's all theater.
Okay, but let me take it to a different level.
Talk to me.
Remember in 6th grade, you had a really good friend named Dave. And Dave's family decided to move from Roseville, Minnesota to Shoreview, Minnesota.
Okay.
And in 6th grade, he was no longer going to be your good friend. So what did you do? The moment he had to leave, like Elon had to leave the government, you tell all your friends who live up in Shoreview that might find or ever see Dave that Dave's a real a-hole and you don't want to see him again because you're hurt. And you're hurt because it's a weakness. And maybe Trump was just hurt that Elon no longer wanted to play government with the Don.
He wanted to take his ball and go home.
He wanted to be like, I'm sorry, I'm moving. I got to go back to my, we were friends and it was great, but as a 6th grader, you're like, I don't care what your reason is, you're moving. I'm still pissed.
Right.
And Don was pissed. And Don, I don't know who started it. But it is clear as day. It was funny because the Democrats kept trying things like, President Musk. Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to say that.
Right.
Like to try to needle Don. And I'm guaranteeing you worked. There is no way that Donald didn't get pissed at hearing that, right? Like, who's the actual most powerful man in the world, Elon or Donald, right?
Right.
That would totally bug Donald. And so when he found his time to start teeing off, because they said some nasty crap to each other. Elon said that Trump should be impeached, which is, that's a big deal. That he was on Epstein's list. That was a big deal. Those are slanderous things to say.
Yeah.
And it really, I do think they'll come around because pragmatic sense will come around where they say, hey, we're still got something to do. And I think Elon doesn't know what's not possible. Does that make sense?
No, what do you mean?
He thinks everything is possible
I
because
see.
he's done things that are impossible.
He doesn't let restrictions and thought get in the way of what might be a really good idea, or he looks. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So he said, "Hey, at Doge, we're going to try to save a $1 trillion in Doge, and then if you balance the budget, then it will be the first time ever in the recent American history since Bill Clinton. There's been a balanced budget, and we'll have lost a $1 trillion of expenses going out, and we'll have a balanced budget for this first time. We can do that, Donald." And Donald said, "Yeah, let's try to do it." Then they tried to pass the big beautiful bill with $4 trillion in increases, right? And I know those increases are only if certain things happen, and hopefully it will be a negligible increase. But I'm sure Donald sold to Elon, come help me. Let's get America back on a stable footing with our finances. And Elon didn't know he couldn't get that done, right? Didn't know that in American political politics that's not possible. And said, okay, let's do it. And then found out it was all just a bunch of bullshit because no one, including Donald Trump, wants to have a decrease in government spending. We do. The people that are paying for it do. But no one in power wants to play with less money next year than they did this year.
Yeah.
Right?
You might be right. And I guess I always, because it's the cynical nature that I have within me. That's just, I'm always under the assumption that I'm being lied to, especially when it comes to politicians. Because
what would you believe? Why would you believe
Why
anything?
would you believe anything? Because we live in pretend town. We live in upside down world.
Sure.
You cannot believe anything that you're being told anymore. And that's the sad reality of just society in general. Not to mention politics.
So let's play this out a little bit because I do believe that Musk, if he stays pissed, he's going to form another political party, right? He's throwing out the name, the American Party, which has been around for a long time, actually. Mm-hmm. The acronym for the American Party would be TAP, T-A-P. I'm not saying what that can't be the name of it because as we know, Teslas are all named, right? The Tesla Model X, S, the Model 3, which is like an E, the X and the Y, sexy, right? I don't know how many people know that Tesla
I did
models.
not know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? It's a Model S, a 3, an X and a Y, sexy, right? I mean...
Well, he does have, 15 kids or whatever it is?
I guess. I mean, he does it because he thinks that's funny. right? So what's he going to name his political party? I can't imagine it's going to be the American Party, which would be all right, right? And then if he does, and he drops, let's say, $500 million into it, which would be a couple percent of a net worth or 1% of a net worth or a quarter of 1% of his net worth, then what happens? What happens if in the midterms, Republicans lose 15 seats to the American Party in Congress, right? In either the House or the Senate. What happens? Then everything's at a standstill. Then you know who's going to be, you know what Don's going to be? He's going to be Donald Duck, the lamest duck president ever. Right. Well, I just came up with a new thing, Donald Lame Duck.
That's not bad. That's not bad. You know, you raise an interesting point because I have long said, like, why do the vast majority of the American public, the 80%, like that's not the 10% nuts on the left or 10% no. Why do we get lost in the shuffle? Yeah. There's way more of us than there is of everybody else.
Because we're not passionate enough to get up and fight for things.
That's true.
Right?
I got a kid's game I got to get to.
Yeah, I got to tell you a story when we get back from break about how passionate I was when I was on my trip.
Oh, good. I want to hear that. Hey, I know I've mentioned these guys, but we're so happy to have We Are Nuts to join the mix here on the Weekly Scramble podcast and also with Garage Logic. And if you're unfamiliar with the fine folks at We Are Nuts, it's a great family-owned business right here in Minnesota. And I got to tell you, the quality. I had a baseball tournament, Michael, over the weekend, and I brought the Hokey Pokey corn.
Oh yeah, that's
so
good.
it's the caramel corn mixed with the cheddar corn.
Okay.
That was devoured in about 3 seconds. Yeah. And then I also brought the toffee peanuts with me. Those also were consumed very, very rapidly.
Yeah, you got to be careful sharing these because they'll just go, wow. I mean, it'll just be gone right off the bat.
That's kind of the beauty of the We Are Nuts family is that they're shareable, they're lovable, and the thing is, the quality is fantastic. So here's the deal. Go visit their website right now, wearenutsmn.com, and you can see all of their products, locally owned, expertly crafted, and always packed with taste. We Are Nuts is the go-to snack choice for everybody here in the great state of Minnesota. So stock up right now from their famous toffee nuts, the perfectly seasoned jumbo cashews, the fancy deluxe mixed nuts, or, as I mentioned, the crowd favorite Hokey Pokey caramel corn. We Are Nuts brings the hometown flavor that makes every single moment better. I can find them at Fratelloni's,
absolutely,
hardware and garden stores. So here's the deal. Go on that website and check them out for yourself. If you want to order, place your order online at wearenutsmn.com and sample the best snack that you can have. The Weekly Scramble. We'll be right back. So I hear you went on vacation.
I did. So it was really exciting. So what I did, Reavers, is I grabbed an American flag because I said I'd like to travel with the American flag just wrapped around me.
Because you're very proud of your American heritage.
Flew down to Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Wow.
Right? And I thought, you know what I should do here? I should just stay here. So I decided to hop up onto a police car, light it on fire. But as I stood on that police car, I wrapped myself in the American flag. And then what was cool is a bunch of politicians from Mexico called up and said, fantastic, Mike. Oh, my God. Why would you not want to, why can't we just keep you here? Even though you must love America because you brought an American flag as you burned that police car. But we're going to keep you here in Mexico. Although you have an American flag, you must love your home country more than Mexico.
Right.
But we're going to just keep you here.
And oh, by the way, bring your family.
Bring your family.
Yeah.
And my mind said, I just have to do this every time I go out of town to someplace. I just have to go there, overstay my welcome, burn shit, and then wrap a different country's flag around me, but then use the Constitution of the United States to protect me, and then have politicians say, it's going to get a lot worse. When you said we are living in upside down world and clown world, Reavers, if I cross the border, first of all, crossing the border into Canada from the United States is not easy, right? If you said, I'm going up there to work on a supercomputer, they'd say, we have other people here that can work on supercomputers. You don't need to come up. Right, that's a true story that happened to my friend of mine. Okay. He's going up to Canada to do something. He was a Microsoft tech, and they said, we got people that can teach that up here. You don't need to come. So he's like, what do you mean? I got to go make my appointment. They said, nope, we have people. They wouldn't even let him in the country. If he went up, or I went up to Canada, and I sat there and said, I'm never leaving. Give me health care. I'm doing whatever I want to do. I'm either a good person or a bad person. I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just not going to follow the rules, and I'm not going to show up illegally. We would last 1 second in Canada before we got deported.
That's why what's transpired in the Los Angeles area over the last handful of days is so maddening, because I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about this a little bit earlier today on the Garage Logic podcast, but just think for 2 seconds. You've got local politicians begging for us, you and me, the tax-paying citizens of the state of Minnesota, to foot the bill for illegal aliens that are living in this state that we're supposed to pay for their health care.
Yeah,
now, again,
demanding that we pay for their health care.
I get it that some people just don't have the good fortune that some of us that are that some of us have. I get all of that, right?
Yep.
But it's just this, and I mentioned this on the show last week. It's this incessant boldness that they're somehow owed all of this that's really working my very last nerve. I ran into somebody over the weekend. In fact, I won't mention who, but I ran into somebody over the weekend that said, "I can't believe you haven't been threatened." I go, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Dude, what you said on the show, everything you said was spot on. But the stuff you've tweeted the last couple of days and the things you've said on both your show with Mike and on Garage Logic, how have you not been threatened?" I said, "I'm speaking for so many Minnesotans right now." And I'm not trying to sound like, that our podcast reaches 10 million people. The viewpoints that I expressed are the same viewpoints that so many others are so frustrated with right now.
Common sense viewpoints.
It's common sense.
It's common sense viewpoints. We don't want crime. And I'm not saying illegal aliens are criminals.
I didn't sign up for this, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And what's happening in Los Angeles, sorry, folks, you're getting what you voted for. That ain't my problem.
Sure.
That's not my fault. But the best part about all of that was, so we're talking about days and days of violent protests and cop cars being abandoned because bricks are being thrown at them from an overpass on a freeway, right?
Yep.
And someone of note, I don't remember who it was, had posted this and said, "My God, what is happening to our country?
What is going on?"
And Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, retweeted and said, "That video is from 2020.
Sure.
And I said, "Well, sick brag."
Yeah, that was from before.
Right. And that's how what's happening now. And I'm thinking,
that is problematic, though. You want to have the freshest stuff.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
But that's taking away from the fact that, okay, Governor, you probably shouldn't be on social media right now. You should be trying to figure out a way to clean up this mess and to put a stop to this. Because, again, President Trump is going to find a way to do it, or he's going to try at least attempt to find a way to stop this madness.
Democrats, can I give Democrats I hate to give them a game play, right? Where, you're watching a game and if you said, if they would only do this play, they'd really win. Well, here's
like when I watch the Vikings.
Yes.
Right.
And I might be Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Sunday morning quarterbacking.
We're good at that, though.
We're really good at that, although I can't remember the analogy's name. Remember the kid, Elian Gonzalez, the Cuban kid whose dad had to be sent back to Cuba.
Oh, yes.
And we went in with guns drawn and grabbed him out of someone's hands and dragged him back to Cuba, right? Mm-hmm. What they need to do is find a few ICE detainees that are sweet, kind little kids that we're forcing to go back, right? Instead, they're finding these MS-13
gang
human
members.
Smugglers that were genuflecting in front of them, kissing their asses when no one wants them here, right? If you're an MS-13 gang member, I'm going to say it's more than an 80-20 thing. We probably don't want more gang members. Oh, by the way, if you're a Blood or a Crip, we probably don't want you here, right? We don't want gangs in the United States. But the Democrats need to find some compassionate micro stories. I talked about it on the other podcast. Individual people that say, my dad's a janitor. He works this place. Here's my daughter. She's 16. She wasn't born in America. I bet she's been here since she's been 1. She doesn't even speak Spanish. And that story of that kid getting sent back to Mexico would break all this deportation kerfuffle in a heartbeat.
I just don't understand. I can't wrap my head around the notion and the idea of thinking that you are an elected official. Your job is to serve your constituency. It's not to play to a certain base, right? It's okay, I'm in this spot because I need to take care of the people that... Why are you placing so many other things ahead of the rights of the citizens who are here legally, paying taxes, buying a home? They have a home.
Yeah.
Why are they... all of a sudden the ones that are cast aside and are looked at as though that they are the bad guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I do go back to what we talked about the other day with this transgender issue, right? There's compassion. It's very easy to be compassionate for an individual.
Sure.
Right? If somebody, I know people that have been here illegally, right? And I like them and I'm compassionate to them, right? I know them. And would I want them to be deported? No. But the answer is we can't have open borders. No other country has open borders. Why should or do we?
Right.
We are the richest country in the world, and I get why people want to come here. I get it. I totally get it. But you got to do it the right legal way.
Right.
And I think Democrats are just blowing it. They don't need to be out in the streets. They don't need to smash through cop cars. They don't need to do this. They need to find stories of sweet little kids that have been here almost their whole life illegally and watch their little tears, because that's what would happen. And then monsters like you and I, Reavers, would say, shoot, I don't know if I want that kid to have to go.
And then I guess that's the thing. I'm not even saying, the guy that came here probably came here illegally, right? And he's working, he's doing whatever. He's trying to raise his kids because whether it's war or whatever they're trying to escape from. I get it, right? But at the same time, there is a process. But I get that's fine. But I shouldn't have to feel this need and this responsibility to be able to take care of that person forever, right? Much the same way the MS-13 gang member that's here, and this whole notion that they're trying to get rid of the bad guys, and so many people that are willing to overlook that point is what's really got us into this mess.
But there's X amount of bad guys out of millions of people who came in illegally.
Okay,
right?
Then let them do their job.
What do you say to your son's 11-year-old friend who is illegal here, came with his parents illegally, and he plays on your son's baseball team, and he happens to be the best shortstop in Jordan, Minnesota? What do you say to that kid? Now, and being serious. I'm being serious. What do you do when you look and say, do you say, I'm sorry, son, you're a sweet kid, you speak a lot of English because you've been here most of your life, right? You speak perfect English, you've gone to school with my son. You have to go back to Mexico. You have to go back to El Salvador. You have to go back to Chile. You have to go back. I don't believe you'd have the ability to do it, because I would never have the ability to do it.
I probably wouldn't, but at the same time, I don't think that that's who we're targeting.
That's not who we're targeting, but that's what happens when you take a dad who might have a bad check, case against him or something, and he goes back. What's the rest of the family going to do?
Here's what I argue with, and it's normally with height, but here's the argument that I normally have, and I'll say status quo isn't working. And the status quo line of thinking, that's not working for me and for millions and millions of other people that are concerned about that very thing you were talking about a few minutes ago. Because the problem is, if no one's going to do anything, we're in a real mess, right?
We?
I think so. You don't think? Okay, and here's the other thing. This president and this administration ran a campaign with the promise of, we are going to put crime as at the forefront of what we're trying to clean up in this country, because it's needed.
I totally agree. We're not talking all criminals, right, Reavers? It's out of, let's say there's 20 million people that came in, just making that number up, which is a crazy huge number. But let's say 20 million.
Higher than that.
Maybe, but maybe it's 4 million. Sure. Who knows really what it is? Let's say 20 million. What percentage of those 20 million, besides coming here illegally, though, which makes them lawbreakers right off the bat, right? Besides that, what percentage do you think are lawbreakers? Couple percent?
Maybe.
Right? That's a ton of people. What do you do with everyone else? What do you do with the 9-year-old kid who went through all of this?
But we've had so many examples and so many stories, horrific stories. Lake and Riley, just chief among them, right? If this is what it's going to take to put an end to those horrific stories, I'm sorry, but I'm for it.
So you have the ability to look at that 11-year-old's eyes.
Unfortunately, I do.
Okay, good. Yeah. Or we could do this.
Okay.
I'm making this plan up as we go.
All right.
Everyone's in. We keep them all in. And we say, the moment you break the law, the moment you cheat on taxes, the moment you defraud a welfare system, the moment you don't have a job, the moment I'm making these things up, right, as I go along, boom, you got to go, right? You demand compliance by saying you have a golden ticket. The moment you dork it up, your golden ticket's gone. The moment you drive without a license, oh, shoot, we told you not to drive without a license, get up and you're gone, right? And you collect the people who are doing bad things and you deport them. And the rest of them, you give them a Donald Trump Republican golden ticket, just like Ronald Reagan did. Because one thing that I think we have to remember, and this is not going to be popular because people won't like this, is we allowed them to come in. Our president, Joe Biden, which he was my president and your president, had a policy of come, right? We invited somebody in. It would be like if my wife had her best friend over. When I saw her here, I couldn't say, oh, shoot, sorry, Jennifer, I want you out of here, right? She's already in based on the invite of someone else.
Okay.
So we're culpable. We're responsible a little bit.
Okay.
But
I can get behind
say,
that.
No public, you can't get welfare, you can't get food stamps, you can't do all this stuff. You can work, you can go to school, you can get some health care.
That's all great in theory, but as I mentioned to you, I think during the break, or maybe even before the show started, we have current politicians in Minnesota having a sit-in to benefit the quote-unquote rights of illegals that are here, and the fact that they're upset because they're not getting free health care.
So is there a way...
I'm upset that I'm not getting free health care.
Is there a way you can envision earning your status? What would someone who's illegal today do to earn their status?
Let's think about that for a moment, all right? His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. This is the Weekly Scramble podcast, and we will be right back. You know, the more I've thought about your plan, I think I'm a little bit more on board with it.
Sure.
I'm a little bit more on board with it.
What would you do? What would you think? What would someone have to do to earn their citizenship in your mind? I know this is we're just brainstorming.
Like
here.
I said, I in the previous segment, I have no problem. In fact, I worked with, before I had this big fancy radio job, I had a lot of blue collar jobs out of high school, between high school and my lot in life at Hubbard Broadcasting. Either when I was in college or before and after. So I've had a lot of blue collar jobs. I've worked with people that I know damn well were here illegally. Sure. And the key difference between that guy who's merely trying to provide for his family and the guy that maybe even has a great job, he might be a little bit underpaid, but he doesn't care because he's getting a check or whatever, and then maybe sending money back home, whatever. The difference between that guy that actually wants to come here to be a part of the American fabric and the American way of life is far different, vastly different than the guy that's here with his hand out.
I agree.
But completely
of those
different.
20 million people, how many do you think are sitting there with their hand out?
Oof. I think, you know what? I think we disagree on that number. I think it's a lot more than you do.
But again, that's our fault because we gave the handout.
True.
If we didn't give them, if we didn't give them a hotel room in New York, none of them would have been in Manhattan.
But here's the other thing too, Mike. Look at what's happened in New York. Look at what is transpiring in Los Angeles right now, or in the state of California. San Francisco's a disaster.
So let's say.
But hold on, let me finish this thought. What's going to happen then if all of a sudden we, for whatever reason, in this foolish state, if we continue to follow that blueprint, we're going to turn into that.
Sure.
In fact, I would already say that we have cemented our path, that we're right behind them.
No, because we're cold. Half the year, anybody coming from the South will say, what the hell am I doing here?
If this state goes ahead and passes through legislation that will provide free health care for illegals, I guarantee you it doesn't matter the damn temperature. They will come here to get free health care.
That does seem illogical that Minnesotans don't have, tax-paying Minnesotans don't have free health care, yet we would give it to people.
It's beyond, it's beyond maddening.
Then I go to this, Reavers. 13-year-old girl, illegal alien, comes into a hospital, doesn't have any money, and she's sick. Tell me you're not going to pay. We're not going to pay for her to get okay. We just are compassionate people. We would never do it. You would, Reavers, in a heartbeat, you'd say, oh my God, take my spot.
You know what then? Right? You're right. And what we should do is when someone says, well, I'm here because I'm just trying to feed these needy kids that don't have any lunches. And you'd say, oh my God, we've got to pay these people. We've got to rubber stamp all these checks in the form of $250+ million for food fraud.
I get it. I'm bringing it down to one person. And the simple fact is it's one person.
Well, we're all compassionate by nature.
I know, but if we're compassionate, then that's what happens when you have compassion. You look at a 13, you say, I'm going to help this person.
You're vulnerable.
Right? And oh my God, that's what we should do, by the way. I'm not saying we should give free health care to illegals. That's not what I'm saying. But if some girl's in an emergency room and she's 13 and she feels like she's dying, I would pay for that, Reavers. I would say, oh my God,
you would.
Of course I would. What's the difference? This is a global, terribly difficult thing. I'd rather figure out how to get her into the Western culture of the United States and say, let's get in, let's earn a Donald Trump gold card, and let's get you in, and let's make you an American and make you feel pride. Instead of wrapping yourself in a Mexican flag, you're wrapping yourself in an American flag.
All right, here's the difference then. Fix the system.
Fix the system.
Meaning healthcare in general.
One other thing you could do too is you could say, hey, you're in America right now. You have to live by these rules. You'll earn your right to be a full American citizen. If anyone from your family crosses illegally, then you all go back with them. That would stop illegal immigration instantly.
So I jokingly said in passing, fix the system, and here's why that'll never happen. Because so many people in positions of power, in political positions of power, will never want the system to be fixed. Why? Because they're all on the take.
Yep.
That's why. There's your answer right
I think
there.
it does go back to waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yes.
And when there's waste, fraud, and abuse, someone somewhere is benefiting from that.
And those are the people that could put a stop to it and put an end to it and make a significant change, and they won't do it. And we all know the answer, and we all know the reason why.
Can I tell you about my vacation?
Yes.
Because I didn't actually go to Mexico.
Okay.
I went, in fact, I posted on the Frat Pack.
Oh, I didn't even look at the Frat Pack
I
before
posted
we
a
did.
Frat Pack pitch. I was sitting at the pool in a place called the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Oh,
Reavers.
nice.
Broadmoor is really, really nice.
I've never been, but I think I've driven by that. I think I've driven by it.
It's really super cool, right? So I had a business meeting there. So this was a business trip. And I was sitting at the bar, and I was able to take my wife to this business trip, right?
All right.
And a guy at the bar just starts losing his mind. And he says to the waitress, he's like, the bartender, said, this is the most expensive drink I've ever purchased in my life. What a total screw. I would have never had these if I would have known they were so expensive. And he's just railing at her, right? Just railing at her. So she calms down a little bit, and she kind of gives him the like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say to you, right? So she comes back a little bit later, and I said, hey, just out of curiosity, how much were his drinks? He had 2 lowball like mojitos,
okay,
or margaritas, like with a little rim thing, not sugar, but something else on the rim, but low balls. And she said, they were just $84. I said, wait, what? His 2 drinks were $84. And she said, well, it's a shot. He ordered some good tequila. And I said, oh my God. He's at the wrong spot to complain about pricing, right? The Broadmoor, no matter what, it's expensive.
It's expensive.
But I thought, yeah, at $84 for 2 drinks, I'd be pretty
a little
pissed
mad too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, and I kept drinking Coors Lights, right? And I was like, I'm just going to drink Coors Lights the whole time because they might be $10, but they're never $25. Right. So I'm like, well, if I have some Coors Lights, I'm well within my budget. It's going to be totally fine. This place is so cool, Reavers. The Broadmoor. It is the group that I was there for. Were 100 years old, and they've been going to the Broadmoor for almost 100 years straight.
Oh wow!
They took a couple years during COVID off.
These are some old people.
Yeah, and a couple years during World War II off.
Oh wow!
And otherwise, the group is met at the Broadmoor. So it was very, very exciting. If you get a chance, I put something up on the Frat Pack where a deer came into the pool area and was just running around, and everyone's like, "Wow, that's kind of weird." It's the same course that I played on that a bear and its cubs were walking across the fairway, and no one was really moving, and I'm like, like that seems like so dangerous.
Sure.
Like we should all scoot out of the way. We shouldn't all continue just to play. But the 45th Senior U.S. Open is there in a few weeks, and I'm very excited to see it because I shot I'm trying to think, hold on, 76 plus 15. I shot a 91.
Okay.
Right? And it was a really hard course. I thought I would have done a little bit better, but I shot a 91 there, hoping to get into the 80s. And I'm really excited to see what these seniors do in a couple weeks at the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find your photo. I'll have to look at it once we're done with the show.
We were walking like through the woods.
Oh, there it is. There's the deer.
Yeah, it's really cool. We were walking through the woods, and my wife got mad at me because I have no sense of direction.
Oh,
so
yeah?
I packed up all my stuff and Get it? No sense of direction? I left. Okay, how about this one? It was they had some great beer there, right? I got to try a new kangaroo beer.
Oh,
Reavers.
really?
Yeah. You could really, really taste the hops. That's so good. Or man walks into a bar.
Ouch.
He's got a newt on his shoulder.
Oh.
The bartender says, "Oh, how cute. What's his name?" And told him, like, the newt's name is Tiny. And they said, "Tiny? Why'd you name him Tiny?" "Because he's my newt." I knew it because he's tiny. Oh, Reavers, I love those jokes more than anything. I love those jokes. That's my best part of this whole thing. And you can see me smiling on YouTube. If
Yes,
you're
you
watching
really
on
can.
YouTube,
You really
can
can.
see me smile. You can see my bald spot, kind of, right?
And we should actually make mention of the fact that, the Weekly Scramble podcast is now available on our YouTube channel in affiliation with the Garage Logic podcast.
You know what we should do? We should mention that earlier in the next episode. So people who get to the end, they can say, oh, I could have watched Mike and Chris.
Sure.
Okay. Arguably, besides Rookie, we are the best looking people on the GL
There's no
network,
question.
right?
No question.
I beat out Joe with my legs alone.
Yep.
Right? My legs. You beat out the rest of the cast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Except for
that.
Rookie. Rookie's got beautiful hair.
He's got stunning
He's
hair.
got beautiful
He
hair.
really does.
But you know what you are?
What's that?
You are the best.
Thank you, Michael. Please do us a favor and rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It helps other people find the show, and it certainly helps us out as well, and we really do appreciate it. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so very much for tuning into this episode of the Weekly Scramble podcast. We will talk to you again next time, and until then, cheers.